And we are live. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. My name is James. I'm going to be your host for this afternoon. And the first thing I'd like to tell you is the Northern Illinois Sports Show is coming. The Northern Illinois Sports Show and Sports and Outdoor Show is going to take place from January 13th through the 16th of 2022. That's 4 days of sports shows, guys. 4 days. It's going to be at the Lake County Fairgrounds, which is in Grays Lake, Illinois. And speaking of the Northern Illinois Sports Show, I have one of the featured speakers there. I have none other than Lake Geneva guide, Captain William Heim. How you doing tonight, Captain?
I'm doing good. And how are you doing tonight, Jay?
I'm doing great. You know, it only got up to about 55 today, which down here in southern Louisiana, that's the best day you can hope for.
Oh, really? Well, see, we're barely cracking 35, and I'm actually wishing it'd be a little colder and stay that way.
Yeah, but that's in the right direction for you now, because you're going to be doing a little ice guiding here for too long, aren't you?
Yeah, that's my boating season just wrapped up, and now we're just kind of taking the next few days, getting everything organized and getting everything ready to go. And the smaller lakes up here, the Twin Lakes, the Powers, the Comos, they did get a sheet of ice across them, so that's a good thing. And I went out today and checked. There was about 3 inches on my I fish Powers Lake. There's 3 to 4 inches on Powers Lake, which that's, it's sufficient for me. I might go out this evening. I'm not sure. I'm still kind of up in the air on what I'm doing, but just doing a little check-in, getting everything prepared. That's the thing about this is once winter starts, it don't end.
Yeah. So you got 3 to 5 inches of ice, man. That's enough.
Yeah, I for the 6-wheeler, I prefer 6. So I'll get a few trips in on my own, just running and looking, and hopefully within the next 2 weeks, Geneva will start to ice up. We'll see what happens.
I bet you that's the last one to ice up. That big old.
Yep. It always is. That's all right. It gives us a chance to get the rust off before we hit it.
A big old deep lake like that. I bet that takes forever.
Yeah, she's ready. There's some ice in Bigfoot, and Geneva Bay had ice when it was calm, but when the wind picked up, it kind of blew it up. So that's still on its way. Yeah, that'll take a couple of weeks. Hopefully, we'll see. It's all in the weather. How that goes. It's all in the weather.
I've also seen geese come there and keep the middle of the lake free of ice too.
Yeah. Yep. And that comes into play, but there's a lot of lake. Once it starts to freeze, we're good.
Sure. So how was your fishing season this year on Geneva, Captain?
It was wonderful. The walleyes were very prominent. The smallmouth fishing was good. The largemouth fishing was good. I mean, I didn't get into as much pan fishing as I would have liked because the other fishing was so well. For me, the month of October was the best month I'd ever had in my life. I can honestly say the walleyes and smallmouth were ungodly. It was like I'd never seen it before.
That's incredible. How about lake trout? Did you catch any of them?
Yeah, well, last winter we got plenty. I don't do it a lot during the summer. We had a shortened season last year. And that's what, as soon as Geneva freezes, that's what I get into, is I'm getting into the Lakers. And we're fishing 70 to 100 feet. We're using 6-pound line. And, when you hook up, it's game on. I mean, there's times where a fish will take 40 minutes, and there's other times a fish will take 2 hours to land.
2 hours, man. Jeez.
Yeah, we've had them go as long as 4.
That'll put the hurt on you and you're doing that ice fishing.
It's funny because of what you're doing, it hurts you more than them. You're not really it's funny. You're not wearing them out with 6-pound line. You're really not wearing them out, but holding that. And I mean, we're doing it with a 42-inch noodle rod. So, yeah, after a couple hours, it'll get on the wrist.
Yeah. Yeah, that will. I used to fish for steelhead with noodle rods, but those are like 8-9 feet long noodle rods. And,
yep.
And it would take 45 minutes. And if you accidentally hooked a big king, you're talking 2 hours. Yeah.
Nope. It's a similar game. It's only, instead of being 9-footers, they're only 42 to 46, but they're still a noodle rod. However you want to say it. Once
We
you
used
hook
to
up,
say,
the neat thing about it, Jay, is our landing percentage is in the high 90s. In the
"Gee,
90th percentile. I mean, we don't, even though we're using light line and we're catching huge fish, we don't lose them. We don't have a lot of loss.
well, with the rod that has that kind of give, yeah, I'm sure you aren't
Yeah,
losing them.
and
And
proper
also,
drag.
and you're probably using mono has a lot of stretch with the drag on those reels. You're probably using
Actually, we've kind of got away from the mono. We're running. I've been running floral, and then I've been running braid with a mono leader. But
sure.
because when you're fishing at 70 to 80, 60 to 70 to 80 feet, you really don't want as much stretch. And
Good
that's
point.
why you're using the noodle rod though, because that noodle rod really it absorbs that fish.
That's a good point. I'm sure if you had a 10-pound Laker down there and you set the hook with 70 pounds of mono, it's just going to stretch. Wong.
Yeah, you got to reel a lot, reel before you set.
That's a
Oh
good.
no, it's fun. It's I mean, and it's neat because the Lakers are a winter fish anyway, so
Sure.
it makes it fun chasing them. I mean, you're catching them at their time. It's their time to have the lake. So we catch Lakers from 7 feet all the way out to 120. So I mean, it's not relative to depth. It's more relative to where they want to be at that moment.
Yeah. Jeez. That
Yeah.
sounds fun. That sounds fun, Captain. Man.
Hey, I mean, you got to, I chase smallies and walleyes all summer. So, you got to give each fish his time to rest too. So, yeah, this is, I give the smallies a little rest and play with the Lakers for a while and do that and here again, we're always looking for pike. We're always looking for bluegills and crappies, but it just seems like once I get on that lake trout bite, I have a good following, and it provides a how do you want to say it, a different adventure.
Sure. Sure. So what are you using to catch these lake trout with?
White tubes. We're using metal Widowmaker mega droppers with little Atom jumbo wedgies. The whole
Okay.
package kind of resembles a mimic shiner. A little
Okay.
4-inch mimic shiner, and it's real small. The neat thing about it is when they hit them, they don't crush it. They take it very light, but they take it. And normally when you set the hook, the hook is right here, right in the tip of the nose.
That's nice.
I mean, yeah. And it's kind of a neat thing. It's, once again, you're hooking a big fish with a little hook, and you just got to depend on the equipment to do what it's made to do. And, like you said, we're running 6-pound mono, 6-pound floral or 6-pound braid. We got the drag set right. As long as that the biggest thing you got to teach them is when to reel.
Sure.
If he's letting you reel, you reel, and when he don't let you reel, don't reel.
Man, after you set that hook and you have that pole way up here, you better start reeling as fast as you can to get it back down.
And if it's weird, but a lot of times you just reel down. The hook set doesn't have to be powerful, so it's more of just a up and a reel, and it locks that hook in. But
So
when you get that rod up, you got to get it back down again as fast as you can.
Yeah, you better be reeling as fast as you can. Man, I haven't done a whole lot of ice fishing in my life, but that just made sense.
Oh, it's fun. I grew up on it. This is actually, it's some people just can't wait for winter to end. I can't wait for summer to end, and then at the end of winter, I can't wait for winter to end.
Well, yeah.
I get into both of them. But no, there's a time and a place for everything, and that's what makes it so much fun. Though, is it's a totally different. It's the same. You're still fishing, but it's just a different way. It's a different presentation, and being in the cold like that, and being the time of year it is, you present your bait a little differently. But otherwise, it's still the same fashion. You're still trying to catch a big fish with a little hook, and for me, light line.
Light line. That sounds so much fun. So you're going to be at the Northern Illinois Sports Show, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got. In fact, I think I think Jim said I got a corner booth right off of his. I'm
That's
pretty sure
nice.
that's how he said it. Yeah.
He also told me you're going to be one of the featured speakers. So
Yeah, it should be good. I mean, the subjects will be, God, I don't even know what we're going to be. I still got to get with them guys and see what we're going over as far as there's so many different things you can talk about at this time of the year. I mean,
yeah,
you can talk about ice fishing, you can talk about spring fishing. Um, I was telling clients about, some of the differences in the rods we use and why we use the different rods for different reasons. Part of the reason I'm so anxious to get there is because every time I'm so busy during the summer, I don't get a chance to see Jim and the crew, and I don't get a chance to go over some of the rods. And, it's nice when they're all there because then you can just go through them. You can see exactly what you're looking at. I mean, you get a good feel for them. I mean, and getting to talk to them guys is just so much fun. I mean, in knowledge and in just getting a chance to reminisce and catch up.
yeah. That's why I called this show "Let's Talk Fishing" because that's what I like to do. I'd rather go fishing, of course, but if I can't go fishing, let's sit around and talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's what fishermen do. We talk about the important stuff. So, guys, come on out to the Northern Illinois Sports and Outdoors Show. Capt William's going to be there. And, he's also going to have a booth. He's going to be a speaker. So, just go on up and talk to him at his booth. He'll sit there and talk to fish and tell you all about Lake Geneva. I honestly can say there's got to be very few people who know that lake more than this captain right here.
It's all time spent, Jay. It's all time spent.
It is. Absolutely.
I mean, that's the neat thing about it. But, talking, when I get the opportunity to spend time with Spence and I get to, talk to him about his all his past knowledge on the lake. And now, how the lake is, I've always been intrigued with how the lake has changed over the years because I'm always trying to, how do you want to say it? I'm always trying to see into the future to see how the lake is going to react to certain things or how the lake is going to rebound from a cold winter, from a hot summer, from, the zebra mussels. There's, just trying to keep up with how the ecosystem of the lake, because that helps me become a better fisherman. Being able to read what's going on with the water. I mean, that's one of the neatest things about being on the same body of water for 50 years. I remember it as a young child, and I remember it in my 20s, and now I'm in my 50s, and it's like, wow, this has changed, but some things stay the same.
How has the lake reacted to the introduction of muskies?
It's been good. I mean, the muskies are just going to fill up a niche. The northern population was going down. The only way to sustain that population was going to be by stocking. The natural reproduction of the northerns out there has been dwindling for years. Northerns need rivers to spawn. Geneva does not have appropriate rivers for them to spawn it anymore. So that kind of, that population of northerns was falling. It was losing. Well, now they bring in the muskies. The muskies will fill in that niche where the northerns are starting to fail.
Okay.
And all, and as far as the muskies go, come on, they just keep eating and growing. So their opportunities are endless, out there. The food opportunities never end. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Even small lake trout, it's all food for muskies.
Oh yeah. And they, the one thing about muskies, a lot of people don't realize, a very small majority of the muskies go deep. 90, I'd almost put it at a 90 percentile live under 20 foot. They don't want to live deep. See the difference between a muskie and a northern. Muskies like warm water. Northerns like cold water. Muskies have a higher, water temperature optimum than the northerns. And Geneva doesn't get over 80 degrees during the summer very often. So that it really puts the muskies in a situation where they can live on shore. they can live in 6 foot of water all summer and they're not overheating. It's not bothering them at all. So, that in itself is kind of neat. Where the northerns will disappear and be gone, the muskies are always there. It's just you got to find them and catch them.
Sure. That's man. That's wow. Good answer to my question. Good answer to my question.
Whenever you look at something like that, you always got to look at all the different aspects of it. The muskies and northerns are in the same family.
Sure.
And actually, with every species of fish, okay, if you look at the bass species, you got your largemouth, your smallmouth, but in that species, you also have a bluegill. Well, that is predominantly the largemouth's favorite food. Now you look at a walleye. In the walleye family, there's the walleye, but there's also the perch. The perch is the predominant prey of the walleye. The reason Mother Nature did that was to allow both of them fish live in the same water conditions. So if the water conditions won't hold a perch, you won't see a walleye. If the water conditions won't hold a bluegill, you won't see a largemouth. That allows them to be in the same lake at the same time, predator prey. And with the muskies and the northerns, although they're both predators, the muskie is the bigger of the two. Now, what Mother Nature did to protect the northern was she allowed the northerns to spawn first. The northerns running up in the creeks, they spawn first. The muskies, now this is why muskies can actually live in lakes that don't have river run. The muskies don't have to run up in the creek. They spawn later. So they'll spawn at the mouth of the creek, or they'll spawn along the shorelines, which we've seen it on Geneva. What happens though is the baby northerns have hatched 3 to a month earlier. So when the baby muskies hatch, the baby northerns eat them. Then that's how come if you have a lake that's predominantly a pike lake, the muskies won't be allowed to take over. But if the lake is if the pike population is teetering, the muskies, that allows the muskies to be able to take over the population. And that's all Mother Nature. She sets the course so each fish can survive under different conditions.
Wow. Fascinating, man. Fascinating. I like that.
Hey, I get into the stuff, man. I mean, when I
sure
get into stuff, I want to know, it's all about understanding. To be a better fisherman, you have to understand the fish. The species, you got to understand. And it's not just understanding the fish. I mean, this, Jay. A redfish in Louisiana is similar to a redfish in Florida, but they're not the same.
Well, yeah, they have different. Yeah, they're completely. Yes. Well, because redfish in Louisiana live in the marsh, and there's very little marsh in Florida. So yes. We have dirty water here where there's clear water down in Florida. So the fish completely they live different lives.
They'll adapt to the conditions.
Yes,
and they're still the same fish, but they'll have to adapt to the conditions in the forage that is around them. And so that's what makes them different. And that's really when you're looking at a lake versus one lake versus another lake, that's generally how I go about it. It's all about the forage. You look at the forage first, and then once you can understand the forage, then you can understand how the species you want to catch is going to react to that forage.
Absolutely. That's why Geneva and the fox chain are such. You have to fish them completely different.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's what makes it so cool, though. I mean, when you really look at the whole aspect of fishing and the whole aspect of I don't want to say the world. You could say the United States. You could say the world. A fish is a fish. When you're watching National Geographic and you're watching Wicked Tuna and they're showing you how them tuna are balling up them bait fish. Them smallmouth on Lake Geneva do the exact same thing.
I have seen smallmouth do that. I've sat there and watched clear rivers.
I've seen northerns do it. I've seen largemouth. But it just goes to show that they all have that same instinct to do certain things. but it just depends on what body of water they're in, how they react to them and how they use them.
That was so fascinating watching smallmouth bass put minnows into a. Man, I was sitting there at a clear water river, and I was sitting on a dam face, and I was watching the fish, and then I saw smallmouth take this ball of minnows, and then they started diving into it like they were, like you said, like tuna. Fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't even fish.
It's cool.
Sat there and watched that. I was just too fascinated by it. I just stopped fishing for a few minutes. And the fact that I was in my 20s, that's how fascinated I was. Because when I was in my 20s, I never stopped moving. I don't think any of us did. Too many fish to be caught. I was living in Upper Michigan. Gosh. Wow.
Well, yeah. You weren't back in your 20s. You were reacting. You weren't thinking.
Yeah. That's why I got in so much trouble.
That's why we all did.
So you're going to be at the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel showing too, aren't you?
Yeah. Yep. I'll be with the Grant crew, and we'll have a booth up there also, doing the same thing, going over some seminars and talking fishing, and that one's a little closer to spring, so that one I'll probably be talking a little bit more spring fishing. Where the Grays Lake show, we may be talking a little bit more ice fishing, a little bit more boating, boat launch information and stuff like that. We'll see. It'll all depend on what's going on and how everything goes.
Well, that's a good question. If a guy wanted to go ice fishing on Lake Geneva, where would he park his truck?
Well, the launches, there's good parking in town. During the winter, they have. During winter, usually they don't have the launch, or the not launch fees, but the parking fees and stuff. And but we use regular boat launches. That's our standard fare. That's the easiest way to access the lake is the launch. Sure.
And guys, I see this happen quite often. Don't park your truck on the ice. People like to park their trucks right next to the other trucks, like they do on parking lots, and that doesn't end well. That just doesn't end well. You know that, Captain.
I like to keep on the street myself.
Yeah, that way when you come back, your truck's still there.
What? Yeah. Well, I won't say, just like you said, in our youth, I had a lot smaller trucks, so it was a little bit different. Now the truck's getting bigger and I'm getting older, so I'm not quite as enthusiastic about running out there and driving on the ice.
I actually went through the ice on Lake Huron in a truck.
Oh, really? Oh.
It got caught. It got caught, so it was like this. It wasn't my truck. We were going out to a perch derby. We had been drinking, of course. I was in my 20s, and there were probably 300 trucks out there. And my friend said, "What could possibly go wrong?" I'm like, I've been ice fishing my whole life. I was never really into it, but I always went every year, several times. It wasn't like every weekend, all weekend long, like open water fishing. But I told him, man, ice is dangerous. And he went out there, and man, his truck went right through and got stuck like this. And they had to bring out 2 tow trucks and toggle between the 2 of them to get them out. And
wow.
It was a mess.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
I've seen a few.
It was a mess. And it's always a mess.
Yeah, I run a 6-wheel all-terrain vehicle that floats. So even if I go in, I'm still floating.
Is that an Argo?
Yep. No, I run the Max, but same thing.
Okay.
Argo Max. Yep. Yeah, I bought mine back in the 90s. And I was in my 20s. I was a lazy 20-year-old. I didn't want to drag stuff. Well, I'm only 5'5", and I only weigh 170 pounds or so. 60 pounds now, probably. But so it ain't as easy as it used to be. But no, even in my youth, I didn't want to try to pull stuff. So I bought the Argo, and plus it was like, once again, put the plugs in it. If you fall in, you ain't gonna drown. Thank the good Lord above. It's only went in once, and it was no big deal. But no, it's for me, it's a fun way to get around.
That would be. Yeah. So if the ice
Yeah,
starts breaking, you just float, huh?
well, plus you can pile 4 or 5 people on there, so it's not like a snowmobile or a quad. It doesn't go that fast, Jay. It only goes 8 miles an hour at most, 10 maybe. But
That's
it's
more
still
than I can
it's a
walk.
hauling machine. It hauls the stuff out there.
Yeah, but that's still faster than I can walk. So
Yeah, no, yeah, and we ain't using up our energy to get it out there.
yeah. So you're going to be guiding on the ice pretty soon. As soon as
Yeah.
it's safe.
Oh yeah. I'll like I said, yeah, that'll probably start this weekend or maybe this weekend, maybe next week during the week. But yeah, that'll be starting rather quickly.
Guys, give this captain a call. He's going to take you out there. He's going to entertain you, keep you safe, and man, it's not in Geneva. He'll put you on some lake trout through the ice, which has got to be. It can only be called an adventure.
It is an adventure. That's part of the reason I like the Laker thing is the opportunities are not readily available. So there's not a lot of lakes you can catch lake trout on an inland lake. You know what I mean? Here, Big Green, there's lake, Trout Lake. There's only a handful.
Yeah, there's only a couple. There's Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, Big Green, your lake.
Yeah. Yep.
Like Trout Lake. Yeah, and you know what? I've never caught any lake trout on any of those lakes except for Lake Michigan.
Really?
And
I never see. I've never caught. I've only caught them out of here in Green. So I've never caught a laker out of Lake Michigan. I've never fished Lake Michigan more than 3 times in my entire life.
Well, when I was in high school, I lived in South Bend, Indiana, and we would go to the St. Joe River and fish for steelhead.
Oh, you got to go up to the St. Joe, huh?
Yeah, that was only about an hour from my house. So when I was in high school, I'd work till midnight. Then I'd be on the road at 3:30 in the morning to go fishing. Sometimes I didn't sleep on Saturday night. I wanted to go fishing so badly. I would just stay up and get ready and then drive to Berrien Springs to fish the St. Joe, and I would catch steelhead and sometimes lake trout. We didn't want to catch a lake trout, but I certainly didn't kick them off my line.
Yeah.
I was after the steelhead just because that's what I thought I was supposed to catch. Nowadays I would have been happy with anything that wants to bite on my line. I'm happy with anything. Well, I've just learned that time is precious.
Oh yeah.
That's what this last year taught me, Captain.
Yeah, in many ways.
Nothing like almost losing your life to make you appreciate what you got left.
Yeah.
Woo. Well, hey man, do you have any shout outs you'd like to make? Any thank yous to any companies or?
I just want to shout out to Jim Grant and Grant Rods. I mean, you guys, anybody that's even not even remotely thinking about it, man, you got to come to the show and see them. I mean, you got to come up and check them out. And I mean, they're the best rods made. I've been running them for, oh my God, 6 years. I mean, they're the best company there is. I mean, and they're right, they're all right there. That's the cool thing about the show is they're there. They're there and they're all set up and in fact, I look forward to getting a couple more.
Oh yeah, what's going to be really cool about
the bad thing is I haven't been able to see Mr. Grant and I got a few, I got a few other. I know he came out with a couple new ones, so it's like you got to try them out. You want to be, you want to get it.
The CUDA EXT, I just got one this year. So cool, and also I haven't gotten the Fin S yet.
Okay. I think that's one of the ones I got to talk to him about. Yep.
The Fin S, man, and the CUDA EXT. I have the CUDA EXT in a spinning rod, and also my one of my redfish rods is a CUDA, a 7-foot medium, both spinning rods, and I love them. In fact, that's what I was catching reds on last week when I went.
Okay. Gotcha.
So much fun. You have to be able to feel the bottom if you're going to be fishing in the marsh, because you think of the marsh as a swamp, but it's not, because it has tide that goes through it, and you have to be able to bounce your bounce your presentation off the bottom, and you have these little things called pinfish nipping at it. And then when a redfish hits it, it's just a solid thump. And it's
Okay,
kind of
gotcha.
like they don't always take it real fast, real hard, but you have to be able to differentiate between those two and the bottom as it's thumping down the. Yeah, you need a superior rod to do that. And if you don't have a superior rod, sometimes a redfish will impale itself on the hook, just like a lot of fish do. But if you want to hook up percentages like you were talking about with lake trout, you need a good rod.
Oh yeah. And you need sensitivity.
Oh yes, Grant rod has that, and also the Grant rod also has the backbone to be able to handle the redfish once you hook into it. Just like when you were talking about the lake trout, man, I can't. Geez, noodle rod. so much fun.
It's got to have fun. Well, Jay, the honest to godness, the only reason I'm doing it is because I get more bites. The lighter the line, the more bites you get. The more bites you get, the more chances you get of landing fish. So I run lighter line. I take that, I run lighter line. I run the drag. I let the clients work the fish, and good things normally happen. So, you got to do what's best for what the fish want most, I guess you'd say,
Yeah. So you've balanced, with the light line to get more bites with just enough backbone to bring the fish in.
And there's plenty. I mean, you're bringing them through an 8-inch hole, and it takes a little while, but they come. And we release, Jay, we release probably 90% of our fish. Our Lakers we catch. A couple go home for the grill, but not many. I mean, and they release so good. I mean, that's the thing I like about it. It's because when we get them in, we haven't wore them out. They haven't raced through the water. They haven't raced through the water column. Everything they've done has been nice and easy. So it's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool. Well, hey, Captain, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to talk to our guest here on Let's Talk Fishing podcast.
Well, and I'd like to say thank you very much for allowing me to be on.
Yes, you're welcome on my show anytime there, Captain.
Thanks.
And in closing, I'd like to tell everybody that Captain William Heim is going to be at the Northern Illinois Sports and Outdoors Show, which is going to take place January 13th through the 16th of 2022, and that is 4 days of sports shows. That's going to be at the Lake County Fairgrounds in Grays Lake, Illinois. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for watching the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. And everybody, have a great week.